Product Builders. Dive into the world of AI with us every week as we chat with founders and business leaders exploring practical tips for building and scaling AI products. We are thrilled to have Will, an AI product manager at Microsoft, join us today. Will is working at the intersection of responsible AI and environmental sustainability at Microsoft. Will's recent major contributions include AI Studio public preview. This is basically Azure AI. This is a game changer for developers, making it easier than ever to build, deploy, and monitor generative AI models. And he also has been part of, launching this playbook for accelerating sustainability with AI. So this is a valuable resource which provides businesses with a roadmap for using AI to achieve their sustainability goals. Today, will be sharing his insights into Azure AI Studio. What is it, how to use it, and how can developers benefit it from a sustainable journey and the role of AI product manager. So we are excited to have Will expertise and hear his perspective on the future of AI. So, welcome to AI Product Builders.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
So, yeah. So, Will, can you tell us about your role as AI Product Manager at Microsoft and your journey to this position?
Certainly. So I'm on the responsible AI tooling team within the AI platform. So we're building the platform that's powering much of the AI revolution, both at Microsoft and the broader world. And our mission is to ensure that the tech that we build always benefits people and the planet. And I think it's really an honor to be in this space in this time right now and to contribute to such a great team. I joined the Responsible AI team from what we call the Experiences team, which is a horizontal that is designed to make sure the platform is productive and delightful. So we had a lot of great UX research and development work that we did and landed some cool wins in that space, which I'll tell you about. And before then, I was in the inference and ML ops teams, very back-end CI/CD inference-related work. And actually, before I landed in tech, I actually started as a blacksmith in high school, sort of worked my way up the technology stack, and then became a mechanical engineer in the solar industry, and finally a grad program at the University of Washington, which was my pivot into tech.
That's good. That's great to hear. So how many years it's been for you at Microsoft?
This is my fourth year.
Fourth year. That's good. Yeah. That's really so. What does this responsible AI team or tooling team do? What is its mission?
So the mission at a mile high, as I said, is really to ensure that the technology we benefits creates value for people and the planet, and really empowering everyone on the planet to achieve more. What that really means in practice is that we take best practices that we've learned within Microsoft, and we make them available via third-party tooling. So AI Studio is an example of some of the great things that we have there. We also have some foundational capabilities in content safety, which are really industry groundbreaking for that and allow you to ensure that the inputs and outputs are moderated and safe. And then what we call evaluation, which is how you create baselines and benchmarks against test data to determine that you're ready to deploy. So we really cover a lot of stuff. A lot of our previous work was around building something called the Responsible AI Dashboard, which is more tabular use case, but then branched into CV and NLP.
Got it. So before moving into, knowing more about Azure AI Studio, could you walk our audience through the process that follows the development of a generative AI model?
Yeah. So at the beginning, you really start with the business need. And there are three phases that cascade from there. There's the ideation and exploration, there's the building and augmentation, and then there's the operationalizing. And so each of those, we think of them as loops. So the ideation is the inner loop, which has your hypotheses that you're testing, your discovery of your models, your basic prompt engineering. And then once you progress, then you enter into the building phase where you're doing more detailed prompt engineering, fine-tuning, evaluations, retrieval augmented generation, and then operationalizing, which is where I actually spend most of my time. And that's where you're doing things like monitoring for quality, you're creating content filters on those deployments to make sure that they're not causing harm in the real world. And then you're rolling out A/B tests across your models, and then managing costs, of course. And these loops all play back to one another. And I'll tell you more about how the operationalization feeds back into the building of the models soon.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So with this public preview of Azure AI Studio now available, what are some use cases or industries that you believe will benefit from this platform and why?
So I'm really excited about the AI Studio because it just brings together all of the goodness of AI, Azure machine learning into a really cohesive studio for generative AI. I think for me, the scenarios I'm most excited about are actually related to sustainability. I think AI is an essential tool to enable sustainability progress and achieve net zero, and there are just so many different use cases within that space, such as measuring and
Mm-hmm.
predicting, optimizing complex systems, or accelerating development of solutions such as renewable energy production or energy storage, and also upskilling the workforce, especially around sustainability. Now, within the AI platform, I think I can't really tell you detailed case studies, but I can share some that are publicly available. We had a really,
Mm-hmm.
really compelling use case
Yes.
called EdChat with South Australia Classrooms. They basically built ChatGPT for their classrooms and needed to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that it was operating within their constraints. And so it was 1,500 students. They did an 8-week pilot and were able to ask the bot questions, and
Mm-hmm.
it actually provoked them to think harder and to think critically about the outputs. And this therefore freed up teacher time as well as boosted student.
Got it.
I could also
Yeah.
tell you about
So
another announcement we
regarding the, yeah.
we at Ignite showcased a partnership with Shell, where we built an e-platform used by pilots, traders, customer ops, offshore wind, and they created a system using our content safety
Mm-hmm.
and jailbreak detection and prompt injection, and we're able to moderate that platform and roll it out to production.
That's great. That's a very good insight. So regarding the evaluation and monitoring generative AI applications, so like how do companies approach monitoring generative AI applications in production to ensure their safety and quality?
So it's a really exciting process. You start with your building and augmentation, and so let's say you have a model you're ready to deploy. You would like to open that in a tool we call prompt flow, which is essentially an execution graph for your large language
Mm-hmm.
application. And so let's say you want to build an augmented
Mm-hmm.
chatbot that's trained on your data. Or, in one of our example scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
we have a chat wiki. So you can extract information from Wikipedia and make sure that it's answering in accordance to that. So to that, you can apply prompt engineering, just operating instructions for your model, and then create different variations of your prompt. And you can do an A/B test on those different prompt variants, and then start to evaluate the scores. And so the evaluation is, I think, really fundamental to the responsible AI and AI Studio journey. You're creating these metrics, which are powered by large language models.
Mm-hmm.
So AI assisted metrics, they can compute
Mm-hmm.
and use specialized prompts to determine scores. These are scores such as your baseline. And I think a really important one in this use case is groundedness. You want to prevent hallucinations within your
Mm-hmm.
business to ensure that the answers your model provide are grounded in
Yeah,
documents. And so if you have these metrics, you run your
got it.
evaluation, then you say, I'm ready to roll out to production. So you can deploy that model and then apply content safety, which is essentially a model that provides filters on the inputs and outputs according to your designs. And then you can run a monitor on that. And
Mm-hmm.
the monitoring is the part that I'm most excited about because our team was able to announce this at Ignite. And that will take the same metrics that you used in your evaluation. And then you can set alerts and tell if
Mm-hmm.
your model is going off the rails. And once you've been monitoring for a while in production, you can actually collect that production data and use that to create a new test set. So you can see the loop, the outer loop looping back into the augmentation loop.
The feedback. Got it. So what I see today is the biggest problem with large language models is scaling them to production, right? The accuracy of these models nearly decreases to 50% when moved to production. Like, could you share insights into the unique challenges companies face when transitioning from AI research projects to deploying AI models in real world applications?
That's a great question. I think that's one the industry writ large is working on right now. I think for me personally, I've noticed that the
Mm-hmm.
having confidence in the model outputs is the single biggest blocker to widespread adoption. How do you trust your model? How do you guarantee its results are consistent or
Yeah.
deterministic? Um, and so this is actually a mix of two things. There's a really important governance aspect, and then there's the tooling aspect. I just told you about some of the tooling. We have some really great capabilities in AI Studio
Mm-hmm.
today that let you do that.
Yes.
But it's equally important to have the not only the tools but the people and the process. So some of the work that we've done at Microsoft is related to the governance, and we have a review board that performs assessments on all applications before they roll out, and they assess harms, data privacy, evaluation, results, red teaming, and then they run interventions and assess it with a full board that's trained to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone's really trying to roll out at scale, I think establishing that is probably the single most important thing, not that the tools exist.
Yeah, very interesting to know about that. So, knowing about Microsoft, it's known for its commitment to sustainability in AI. I know that you worked on a project that you recently shared. So, can you share a summary of that project?
I've worked on several projects. I think since I started, actually, I
Mm-hmm.
joined a hackathon at Microsoft that really got me started on the sustainability space. I started to ask questions about
Mm-hmm.
what is
Mm-hmm.
the impact, the environmental impact of the activities that we're performing in, and how do we use this technology for good, for the cases that we want. And so the
Mm-hmm.
project you're referring to is the AI and Sustainability Playbook. It's really a high level assessment of
Yeah.
different ways that we can use AI to enable the energy transition that we need. And so that white paper was driven by our science team, and they really did a broad survey of the industry and also listed some great things that are happening within Microsoft on this. So as I mentioned, there's the ability to measure, predict, and optimize complex systems, and then you can accelerate your development of solutions and you can empower your workforce. And so I'll share the link in the chat for the paper,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really great to be at Microsoft
Mm-hmm.
because we have so many different portfolios and projects that are running, be it through the Climate Innovation Fund or the AI
Mm-hmm.
for Earth or our planetary computer. But it is really important to consider the net impact
Mm-hmm.
of the technology. As our president Brad Smith says, it can be used for good or ill, and we must exercise our conscience with it. So the real journey here is to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you can assess the net impacts and then aggressively drive sustainability solutions.
Yeah. So if we jump into day-to-day work, what are the specific features or functionalities within Azure AI Studio that contribute to reducing the environmental footprint of these AI applications?
So I will say it's early days, and the regulatory landscape is still evolving, but
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to make some progress. Actually, it's a spinoff from that hackathon I mentioned. Uh, One of the capabilities that
Mm-hmm.
I was able to release in my time here is the ability to measure the energy footprint of your training of your model as well as the deployment of the model. And so that's live in Azure Machine Learning today. And we actually use that telemetry as the basis to
Mm-hmm.
perform studies and then showcase a few mitigation tactics to reduce
Got
the
it.
environmental footprint. So I think the biggest factors to consider are there's the energy consumed by the AI itself that runs on the hardware. You can also do things to reduce the
That's
physical
a lot. Yeah.
of it. And then you can make sure that you can modify your compute, especially AI, to take advantage of lower carbon sources of electricity. So you can choose when or where you as a user want to run your workload. And that can have a huge impact on the location
Mm-hmm.
based emissions because it's powered by the grid that supplies the energy. So if you have coal powering your AI versus
Yeah.
hydro, then you have a very different carbon footprint.
Got it.
But in
Yeah.
summary, we
Totally
have
makes sense.
energy telemetry. We have some great papers that you can reference, and you can even use the paper to choose the region that you're creating your resource. And we actually have some exciting
Mm-hmm.
culmination of the hackathon journey where our team actually won an internal hackathon, and we're going to be hopefully bringing it to production at some point.
Wow. That's good to know. Yeah. So as I know that there's a lot of UX user experience thing going on with rise of AI powered application. User experience has been even more important. These applications are often have complex functionalities and ensure a smooth user experience is a key for user adoption. So what are some best practices you and your team employed? Can you share some examples here?
Certainly. It's actually one of my favorite topics. Part of my master's degree was one third of a
Mm-hmm.
user research degree and also some data science and MBA.
Wow.
What,
Mm-hmm.
what you just mentioned is so important to really unlock the life cycle for your users. And the skill set of the users has changed with the generative AI boom. It used to be very, very specialized data scientists. You'd basically have to have a PhD to even
Yes.
it started doing a basic thing with machine learning. And now it's actually shifting towards the developer side. So they have a lot less subject matter expertise, but still obviously very, very capable and intelligent, but they have different priorities. And so we want to make products that are compelling and usable, very low friction. So we've been on a journey within Azure Machine Learning and building the culture behind that for this transformation. Actually, part of my time on the
Mm-hmm.
experiences team was one of my most exciting and rewarding. We rolled out a scorecard around UX. So we backed that with telemetry as well as quality
Mm-hmm.
observations and customer data, and we tracked success metrics like success rate. And so we were able to actually measure baselines for
Okay.
hotspots in the product and then drive improvements and measure the success of that. So some of the techniques that we used to roll out success were around frameworks like jobs to be done or the hypothesis progression framework. We also did heuristic evaluations
Mm-hmm.
through prototypes and really simplified the product the specific area that I worked on from let's say a large drop
Yes.
off in the pipeline down and maybe like 11 steps of the journey to a single click to deploy a model. And it was actually rolled out across the org. And
Wow.
this deployment wizard is
Mm.
pretty much the only way to deploy a model in AI Studio or Azure Machine Learning today. So it's really measurable, awesome techniques to apply. And it's been great to be part of the journey with the team.
Got it. So, so you being an expert and really passionate about UX. So, what are some challenges with user experience and AI applications?
So I think the biggest user experience challenge with AI applications is the technology is so new and moving so quickly, and people often struggle to find an end-to-end place that they can do their workflow. Which of the tools that you're trying to stitch
Mm-hmm.
together into your application. And one thing that I think Azure AI has done a really good job of is pull all the different parts of the product together into a cohesive interface and also be interoperable with open source frameworks like MLflow, for instance. So
Mm-hmm.
that has been a really great process to go through, and we've certainly built a lot of new muscles, and we're pretty proud of the product that we've come out with. But I think foundational to all of that, as I
Got it.
said, is the culture and really getting the engineering, the UX researchers, and the product managers thinking along the lines of the why and the jobs to be done that you're hiring the product for.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So, moving more into product management, right? Your journey in Microsoft as a product manager, since you have an experience building AI products, could you give me an example how you work with data scientists, ML engineers, or data engineers? Like, how are the teams structured, basically?
That's a great question. So I'm actually a platform product manager, so we aren't directly on the teams that are rolling out the
Mm-hmm.
solutions, but we have an analogous model there. We have I like to think of them as triads. Have been the most effective, where you have your project,
Mm-hmm.
in this
Yeah.
case, model monitoring for generative AI, and then you have your team of developers,
Mm-hmm.
resident data scientists that can advise and be your voice of the customer, for internal work, and then the product manager. And so only when the triad, or maybe it's the
Mm-hmm.
quad now, you have your data science, your PM, your dev, your UX research working in concert. Do you have that true rapid iteration and delivery cycle? And I haven't
Yeah.
worked in a direct AI application team. I would be interested in doing so at some point, but I think that model would still apply.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, for aspiring product managers who wants to transition into AI product management, like what advice would you give them on the transition?
Good question. I truly stumbled into Microsoft by chance from the University of Washington's Global Innovation Exchange program, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a perfect blend of 1/3 of the Foster School of Business, so basically an MBA, 1/3 computer science, the UW Paul Allen School, and then 1/3 human-centered design and engineering. And I think for me, that was the perfect training
Mm-hmm.
ground to become a product manager. And there's a good recruiting pipeline that they set up there. For someone trying to self-start, I think there's a lot of great courses online. Like MIT offers some free coursework that is, I'm sure, really useful. And there's also
Mm-hmm.
skilling content on LinkedIn that I think is quite useful. But I think the best
Mm-hmm.
thing
Yeah,
that I found is just getting your hands
got
dirty
it.
building the projects.
Yes, yes, that's true. So, as AI continues to play a prominent role in product management, how do you see the responsibilities and skills of product managers evolve in next 5 to 10 years?
That's another good question. I think the landscape is constantly evolving. 3 months is an eternity here, and as we're constantly having to keep up learning
Mm-hmm.
new tools, and I think that makes it really exciting. Uh, it's really great to be at the place where we're building the tools that are being adopted and shaping the industry, if you will. I think
Yeah.
obviously AI will revolutionize how we work. Let's say the Copilot for writing code is already manifested itself across the org, and it's just supercharged our developers. But on the product side, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of exciting stuff that you can do there. Like if you can collect enough qualitative data, what if GPT could perform an affinity analysis based on that data, or run rapid user
Mm-hmm.
research? I think we're just starting to scratch the surface. So the more we can start to build projects in that space, the more we're equipped to shape the future that is soon to become.
Got it. So you as an AI product manager, like what are the some AI tools you use on a daily basis and which has made a great impact in your life?
You know, I always fall back to trusty ChatGPT. We do have
Mm-hmm.
access to some of the latest models and the latest tools.
Uh-huh.
You can,
Yeah.
you can always prompt engineer something and build your own application really easily now. At least that's the that's the skill set
Mm-hmm.
that I've been building. But ChatGPT works just because it's so easy to access, and sometimes you
Yes.
need to build your own specialty thing. Let's say you want to transcribe meeting calls and come up with action items. They're starting to bring those into Teams, for instance, but I still like to
Mm-hmm.
work with the machine, especially if it's in a very easy
Yes.
interface like chat. Then I'll bounce back and forth. And sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
answers aren't what I need, but it still helps provoke me into thinking critically and collaborating. I like to read something, scan it, and then ask GPT for a summary that I then combine with my own notes. And that, I think, produces some really beautiful artifacts and good insights.
Yeah. I think that's the most favorite for everyone today. I think that's it for today. Thank you, Will, for sharing your insights on being an AI product manager and also sharing insights on AI Azure Studio and your sustainable project journey. Yeah, thank you for being part of the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.